welcome to this edition of the Erica Edwards Show. Today, my guest is Mr. Wayne Williams, the owner of Buff Boy Fitness. You can hear?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, great. I'm sorry about that, everyone. We were having some technical difficulties, so please excuse the delay at the beginning. So welcome, Wayne. Thank you for joining us today.
No problem. I'm happy to be here.
So
yes.
Today I wanted to speak to you about the recent events, what has been going on and what has happened, not only with Buff Boy Fitness, but what's been going on with AfroGlobal Television as well. As a multi-hatted entrepreneur, you have your hands in a lot of different things. And then COVID came along, and what happened?
Okay, well, I've been a personal trainer and training for many years. I started my company in 2015, and 2014 actually. And I'm not used to not working. I've been, hustling, if you call it, for the last 6 years. But as of 2020, something happened. Everything got kiboshed. So
I like that word, kiboshed.
Yeah, everything was kiboshed, man. Like somebody threw a monkey wrench into the operation, but that did not stop me, because if everything is falling down around you, then you have to find a way to find your way out. You know what I mean? And I'm used to that. If you know, like, my backstory, where I used to be a janitor working at a Toronto hospital, and back then, I tried to find my way into the fitness world. I know it's not an easy transition, and when you think of janitor, you don't think of trainer, right? But I found a way to get my way out of having a menial job into a self-fulfilling job and a career. So if I found my way out of that, this way, or what happened in 2020, has been very challenging, to say the least. But we found a way to get out.
So with Buff Boy Fitness, now before COVID hit in March, because I think March is when people really began to feel the effects, business people, everyone really began to feel the effects. That's when the shutdown began, right?
Yeah.
So prior to March, was Buff Boy Fitness mostly in person? Were you having classes? How did your business operate prior to COVID versus how you operated after?
Okay, well, prior to COVID, I was doing both. I was doing classes, boot camps, and personal training. I was working Monday to Friday, even some weekends, and training people in person. But now I do a lot of my training virtually, just like this. I do a lot of my training like this, and I do some in person. So it's been an adjustment, but it's pretty good, actually.
So how have you liked doing online training? Like, what has been the difference for you?
Well, me, I'm a hands-on person. I'm a hugger. I'm a high fiver. I'm a fist pounder. I do all that. It's kind of hard to do it like this, like you don't get the 100% authentic Buff Boy experience, but it's an adjustment, but it's not the same. I ain't gonna lie, it's not the same.
It's not the same. And in terms of volume, like, let's talk bottom line, money wise. Have you seen a huge impact on your business on Buff Boy Fitness?
Initially, yes. Initially, I did.
Yes.
But I learned how to pivot my company, because the whole online thing, the whole virtual thing, it's brand new to me, and I had to figure it out. There's no manual that says, hey, okay, if the world goes through a pandemic, this is what you got to do. So all I did was like I sat back and I listened to my clients, I listened to my family, I listened to Abby, and she said, start doing things virtually. I said, okay. And then I tried it through WhatsApp, I tried it through IG, and I found that people are more receptive, or people are more receptive than you think, because they understand the pandemic is going on. So when it comes to the business, I've been able to stay afloat. But initially, oh man, panic to say
Yeah,
the least.
worry, deep worry, right? And I
Yeah.
mean, you said something because I've met you in person and everything he's saying is true. He's an extremely personable person.
Yeah.
So I can see why having to do it through screens would be a bit harder for you because, like you said, as a hugger, as a fist pounder, as all those things, you can't do that. But you pivoted. Now,
Hmm.
I have this. The word pivot has been thrown around a lot in the last 6 months, right?
Yup.
But what
Yup.
I'd like from you, Wayne, is when you say pivoting your business, tell me what that means to you, to your clientele. What did that mean to pivot?
To pivot means to change your whole way of thinking and the way that you operate your business. So if you're used to training people in person and collecting payments in cash, for example,
Mm-hmm.
one way you can, pivot is by accepting only e-transfer, or Square or PayPal, so more electronic things. I was okay at it before, but I became really good at it now. So you know, it's like
So what's your
that.
main, like, I'm curious for myself, what are you using mainly now? E-transfer or
Yep.
is it PayPal?
Yeah, the easiest way is e-transfer. It's like
Mm-hmm.
instant, So
Instant and so easy. I agree. Within
yeah,
Canada, e-transfer is absolutely just one of the easiest ways to accept payment. You don't even have to set up a special business account or anything like that.
nope.
And everybody has an email. So that
Yeah.
I see. And I love your explanation of pivot because what I've seen online with a lot of business people are they're giving these big complex explanations. And I think with a lot of small business owners being so overwhelmed, that was a great explanation, Wayne. It's just
Thank you.
changing your whole way of thinking. And the fact that you tried WhatsApp, you tried Instagram, like you tried different platforms to see what would work, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And
Definitely.
what's been most effective for you?
All of them, really. If you
Really?
have if you have a camera phone, if you have a social media, then it's the easiest thing in the world. It's really that easy,
It's
and
really
then
that I love you saying that, Wayne, because
yeah.
you started by saying, I had no clue. I didn't know what I was going to do. My friends and family, my wife was like, look, do it online. And you said, okay. And you did it.
Yep.
So what would be your advice to, especially within the fitness industry, right? Because that's your specialty, fitness, food. What would be your advice to another business owner? Like, what would be your advice to them during this time? What can they do to stay afloat and maybe even thrive?
To stay afloat, the best advice that I would give somebody is to not give up. Don't give up, because just because there's a pandemic going on, just because you can't, go out there like you used to, or if you're used to running like I don't know, 100-person boot camp, which is like you can't do that no more. You can't have like a certain amount of people, because we're in stage 3. But I would say just don't give up. Find another way. You have to find another way. If you can't
Find another
do
way.
it, yeah, if you can't do it in person, then do it. Well, if you can do it in person, be safe. Make sure you have your personal protective gear. Make sure you're washing your hands, of course, and distancing. No hugging for now. Um, because you can transmit stuff, but just don't give up. I have a saying that says, it's difficult but not impossible. It's difficult but not impossible, and that transcends just fitness. That goes into business, that goes into your personal life. It's difficult, but not impossible. You can do this.
I love that. Thank you, Wayne. You are so inspirational, and I'm sure that the strength of your personality, it translates on film. So I can see why you are still doing well with your business. Now, one of the, it's so interesting because obviously I met you before the pandemic, right? And there were a lot of things going on. So not only do you have Buff Boy Fitness, you're also a little bit of a television star.
A little bit.
Little bit. So do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Okay. I was a few years ago, I was they call it the personal training expert fitness guru on CP24's Summer Shape Up. So myself and Travis Danraj, we had our viewers call in or email in their fitness questions, and then we created this hashtag called CP24 Summer Shape Up, and then that just took off like wildfire. From there, it was just we're doing like the MMVAs, and we're doing like a whole bunch of shows and stuff. And then I got picked up by AfroGlobal. Shout out to AfroGlobal.
Yeah.
So my wifey and I, we got our own show. It's called Synergy, the health and wellness show. And right now it's on hold right now because of the pandemic. But we will be starting again with our second season and filming again soon. So look out for that.
Absolutely. And in terms of fitness, as a personal trainer, what have you seen a difference in people's physical needs since the pandemic? Like, has your training changed in any way? What is the difference?
Well, before the pandemic, there was no such thing as a COVID belly. So I'm learning I'm learning what a COVID belly is. If you've been tuning into any versus battles, you'll notice that there's a lot of artists out there that suffer from COVID belly.
That are rounder than they were before?
Yeah. Yeah. If you used to seeing a singer or a rapper with abs, and then you see them do a battle, you see a big old belly, that's the COVID belly.
Yes, and I've been hearing about the COVID-15, the COVID-25, the COVID-40, and those are pounds. So
yeah. So and it only becomes the COVID belly when you're at home, you're bored, you're binge watching, and you're eating a whole bunch of food that you don't usually eat. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's not your fault. Nobody predicted this, but there are things that you can do. And that's why I've changed my training strategy to get rid of COVID belly.
Okay, so COVID has actually presented you with a very specific opportunity, a very specific health challenge, and you're addressing that directly. That is amazing. Did you get a COVID belly? I don't see how.
Oh, no. Hey, no, none of that, man. Still got the abs, man.
I know the wifey does not have a COVID belly. Your wife actually doesn't even have a stomach, but that's a totally different topic for another day. So switching over, I love talking to you, Wayne. Switching over, one of the things that I would like to know, because as I said, you are such a big personality. I met you, and you it's interesting how you fill the room almost quietly. You're not loud. Really? You don't fight for space, but your presence is very, it fills up a room. And one of the things that, was so pleasurable about meeting you and your wife, you are a family of 9, correct?
Yep.
So you and your wife have 7 children.
That's right.
And 4 of those are boys, correct?
Yeah, we have 5 boys.
5 boys. Okay. Yeah. So you are the Black father of 5 beautiful Black boys. Mm-hmm. And not only has COVID hit us, but this whole social, what I would like to hope will be a revolution. So many things have gone down in the last 6 months. I think we're all reeling. So what I'd like to know is, as a proud father, very proud Black man, someone who really reps his community, is obviously into family because you made one of your own. How have these events from, I mean, it started so long ago, but I think the catalyst of this was George Floyd. And sadly, since then, there have been so many other instances. The bird watching in the park, Brianna, nobody has still been arrested for that. Then recently, another man was shot in the back while another man walked towards the police with guns.
Yeah.
Here in Toronto, we had the case with Devontae Miller. The police were basically set free, and now one of the cops is actually challenging his sentence.
Wow.
How has all of that affected you, your family, your mindset, your business? How has that affected you, Wayne? How have you been feeling about all of the recent racially charged events?
Well, for us, it kind of brought us closer. Actually, it allowed us to open up more dialogue between myself and my sons. My sons are really young in age, so they won't get the, like the main reason why people are getting killed regularly. But it has brought us closer together because we pray together a lot more. Number one, and we speak more openly about race, which before we never really spoke about. But now we speak about race relations, how they feel when they interact with other people, and things to look out for. So, as a black man, I have to teach the younger generation, how to deal with these kind of situations because, it's not going to be a bed of roses all the time. You're going to run into situations where you're going to be discriminated against. You're going to, you might, God forbid, on wood, but run into the police, and you have to know what to do and what not to do. So, yeah, it has opened up a whole new conversation. And for the younger ones, I'll wait a little bit longer until I have like a really, until they have more understanding. Because right now they're in their like Paw Patrol and Peppa Pig stage, so they don't really understand, right? But when they get a little bit older, then they'll understand.
So that has opened up the conversation within your household with amongst your children to talk about something that, I think also too, as first and second generation Canadians, we move here or we're born here and we're thinking, okay, things are supposed to be a lot more even, and that I think each generation is kind of hoping they don't have to have these conversations with their kids. But
Absolutely.
What this has shown, especially me, is that these conversations are necessary.
Absolutely.
Just like teaching them to brush their teeth or to look both ways.
Yep. This becomes like the ABCs of like daily life, So
exactly.
Yeah.
The
so if you're like, yeah, fundamental. Like, but for me growing up, we never really, to be honest, I never really experienced it until I became an adult. When I became an adult, I really knew that I was a black man, like for real. But,
really?
Yeah, but growing up, I had like diverse friends from the same community, like Greek community, like black, white, Chinese, you know what I mean? Like you have like a whole diverse amount of friends. And, people back in the day used to like tell jokes and, but you're like the black guy, but you don't feel like you're the black guy, But when you become an adult, you are the black guy. You know that you're the black guy because there was an instance where I was at work at the time when I was cleaning a hospital, and I got a phone call from one of the it's not a phone call. They called us down to the office, or me. They called me down to the office, and they had two officers there waiting for me. And I was like, okay, what's going on, And then they said, are you Wayne Williams? I said, yes, I am. They said, okay, you're under arrest for theft. And I said, you're joking, right? Because like a lot of my friends that used to work with me, they used to play pranks on us like all the time. So I was like, oh, okay, I'm under arrest. Oh, all right. Put me in the back of the squad car, And they actually did, they
I'm
arrested me.
sorry. Don't mean to laugh. But you weren't expecting that, were
And
you?
nah, man, the whole time I thought it was a joke. I thought they were gonna say, But yeah, they fingerprinted me. I'm like, okay, fingerprint, okay, thank you. And they took my mugshot, okay, and they put me in the cell. And after I was in the cell for a few hours, then I knew it wasn't a joke anymore. Then it turns out that, long story short, that after a year in court fighting it turns out that the only evidence that they had was that the person that was actually stealing the computers from the hospital was a black guy.
Wow.
That was it, a black guy.
So
Okay,
wait, were you like the only black guy that worked there?
there were several
Wow.
black people that. I mean, we're in Toronto, right? Like, there's black
Exactly.
people around, but the only evidence that they had was that there was a black guy that took the computers.
Wow.
And
This makes me want to raise funds so that we have the funds to turn around and countersue, because
yeah.
that that's slander. Oh my, that's so many things. That must have been so traumatized. And they arrested you at
What?
work.
At work, in front of my colleagues, in front of my peers, in front of, like, people. They walked me through a merge. So, but I was smiling because I thought it was a joke, right? So I'm just like, they're gonna throw me in jail, like. But I didn't know the gravity of the situation at the time. But after I found out, is because, like, there was no other evidence. The day that those computers got stolen, I wasn't even at work. I was at home, right? So there was no evidence to say that I did anything other than it was a black guy.
Wow.
Like, could you believe it? So now, as an adult, I know what it is to be discriminated against. I know now.
Well,
Um,
you can be guilty just because you are.
yeah,
You
because
exist,
they classify it as what do you call grand theft. Yeah, grand theft over 5,000. So
Well,
they're
yeah.
looking at giving me 7 years, 7 to 10 years.
Whoa.
So it's a good thing that I had a good lawyer that could fight it, but I shouldn't even have to fight it.
No, you shouldn't. And
And then,
and for them to actually arrest you and, like you said, take you through emerge and
yeah.
all of that, I mean, that's humiliation.
Mm-hmm.
That is ruining of your reputation, because the thing is once you're accused of something, even when you're proven innocent, people still look at you funny, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Because when I was exonerated a year and a bit later, um, they offered me the job back and an apology from the president of the hospital, which ironically ended up being a friend of mine after. But that's another story. But yeah, so like they offered me the job back, but then I was discriminated against so much because they go, "Oh, the thief is back. Oh, I don't want to work with him. If he's here, I'm not here." I'm like, "What?"
Wow,
You know
that
what I
really
mean? Like,
does sound like you have grounds for countersuing, though. It really does.
definitely. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that's in the works right now, actually. So
Well, I'm
yeah.
glad that you were able to find your path. And I'm glad through your strengths and your determination, you were able to go and do something that you were obviously destined to do. And wow, that for just like a simple story throughout, that's really big. And what an introduction to what society's idea of Blackness is for you, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sure that being an entrepreneur now, being in control of your own family's destiny, your job, being your own boss, that really does give you a lot more security. And at least your boss won't discriminate against you like that now, right?
Yeah, because I'm my boss now.
Exactly, that's it. But Wayne,
Yeah.
thank you so much for sharing not only your pivot story, which I love the way that you put that. I love the way that you really brought it into real terms and didn't make it too complicated. The advice that you gave to never give up. Whatever you're doing, pivot, try something else, try it a different way, put on a
Yeah.
different hat, but don't give up. And thank you for opening that conversation amongst your boys. I know you're going to be sending them out into the world, and they're going to be a lot more aware of what's going on and be able, each one teach one, as they say, right?
Amen. Yeah. I always say
Amen.
it's difficult, not impossible. You can
Not
definitely do
impossible.
it.
And so before we wrap up, Wayne, can you, one, tell us where to find you, how to get in contact with you if we want to be buff and get rid of our COVID belly, and also to leave us with your final thoughts.
All right. So if you want to hit me up, it's you can hit me up at buffboy.ca. It's very simple. I'm Buffboy. The website's buffboy.ca. You can send me a message at underscore buffboy fitness, or even if you type like buffboy fitness on Instagram, you'll get me. Just look for the yellow logo. That's me. And yes, just remember that it's difficult, but not impossible. You can do it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today, Wayne. I will be speaking with you again. That really was wonderful.
Yeah,
Time went way too fast, but we will connect again.
I
Thank
know.
you for everything, and I will be looking out for the relock for the second season on uh, Afro Global Television,
Global.
right? And what's the name of the show
Yeah.
again?
Oh, and one more thing. Oh, the show's called Synergy, but I want to plug my wife's show. It's called
I was
Niger
waiting.
Wives Toronto. That show's gonna be fire. That show's fire. Right, show's fire.
Awesome.
Yeah. So yeah.
Good. So yes, we have to plug our Housewife of Naja. We have to make sure we plug that too. So thank you so
Mm-hmm.
much for joining us and leaving us with that absolutely positive message. And I look forward to seeing you again. I look forward to talking to you again, and I will be tuning into Synergy. Thanks so much, Wayne.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you so much.